So I have a commenter who has written in about rage occurring at the end of the relationship. Hi, my name is Dr. Natalie Jones. I'm a licensed therapist. This commenter says, "Hi, Dr. Natalie. Thank you for your videos. Sending a private message, but I wanted to know what if after you have escaped the relationship from someone who rages, especially when trying to end things. They find out that you're dating again many months after it ended. Is the rage only particular is the rage particular only to the immediate moment of ending the relationship? So this is a good question. Um, Thank you so much for asking this, and remember, TikTok advice given is not therapy. Um, so I'm thinking about your question, and one word that you used that stands out to me in your question is that you escaped the relationship. And when someone says escape, like, the first thing I'm wondering is what you mean by that. And it makes me think that you had to kind of get out of there. So, because everything wasn't well and it wasn't conducive to your mental health, but I'm not sure what was going on. So, keeping that in mind, just that point alone, I think that can kind of circle back to your last question. That rage is not only a moment in time in that particular relationship. I think your last two questions, actually, I think it can kind of, answer that. Um, and then the second thing is like, once the relationship is over, it's very interesting. Like in my mind, when a relationship is over, it's over. You guys move on, you go on your separate ways. But if you're telling me that, hey, I moved on, and then so many months, upwards of a year or more, I started dating someone else, and now this person is angry about it. Like, well, number one, why do they even know? Unless the two of you have children together, that might be one thing. But again, why is that like reactivating that rage and anger and things like that? So that is very concerning. So that's something to keep in mind, that this person still feels some sort of possessiveness or attachment to you, that they're not ready to let go, and it angers them, or it fuels their anger, so much so that they become enraged. That's serious business. Number three, in domestic violence, they say that, the most dangerous time to leave a violent relationship is upwards of 2 years after you've left that relationship. Those first 2 years are the most dangerous time to leave that relationship, because that person simply feels like, you belong to me, I'm losing control, and I need to get control of you back. And even if they said that they wanted to end it and they gave you a hall pass, you can go, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's how they feel underneath. So I think, to me, when you have someone that's uh, incapable of controlling their emotions like that, that can certainly be dangerous. Plus, you said you've already had to escape, and I don't know what conditions you've had to escape the relationship under, but none of that paints a very good picture. Unless the two of you have children, hopefully you're not in contact, and you've kind of kept your life, your private life, separate from that individual, because if um, they're still able to somehow have access to you, or have access to your information, if they know that even after you've broken up, that you're with someone else, and that is a bit concerning. So I would say yes to your question. Rage is not just a snapshot in time. And again, I've spoken about this before many times, but you guys have a lot of great questions about it. When I worked in corrections, some of these guys have been 20, 30 years down, had a lifetime restraining order, and they were still enraged, still wanting to get in contact with their ex-wife or their ex-partner, and still very much wanting to retaliate and harm them. So, and even just bringing up that topic about, like, you know and us working trying to work through that in therapy, they would still get visibly upset, clench their fists, and still want to enact violence on that person. So 20, 30, 40 years down, and still trying to reach out to people to try to figure out what's going on with that person, even though they've been locked up for it. So never underestimate rage, because people can ride that out. And I've been a witness to it. People can ride that out even while doing hard time, and still feel like I have to get my revenge. I have to get that person back, or I have to sort of settle the score, and get even, because, and people can do a good job of trying to mask that as well, but you never know about those sort of things. So always tread very carefully. You know that person better than I know that person. It's good, if you have to navigate that through court or shared custody of a child or whatever, definitely let the court know. Get those restraining orders if you can, if you need that. But definitely do everything that you need to do to kind of protect yourself. You don't want to underestimate that, or take that a little too lightly. I've seen people do all kinds of things with that. So I hope that helps. Thanks so much for asking that. Like, comment, share, and follow. Take care and have a great Sunday.